Yeah, on continuous random variables. Yes, and and next week is actually the final week of this course, and we will try to do some advanced topics in the next week. Okay, so today we will do some more problems on continuous random variables and some of the things that we have discussed in the last few lectures. Okay, so let's get started. Just a second. Yeah, so the problem is the following. Okay, so you are given random variables x and y. Yeah, the random variables x and y is given to you. The distribution is given as a graph. Yeah, so yeah, x is this, y is this, and the probability density function is constant in this quadrilateral. Yeah, in this area, it is a constant value. Okay, we are not told what that constant value is. Yeah. So how do you find the probability density function of joint density function of x and y? Yeah, so is the question clear? So x and y are random variables. This is x is here, y is here, and the probability is constant in this quadrilateral, in this parallelogram. Yeah. So what is the probability? What is the probability density function of x and y? Yeah.
But your screen is not visible.
My screen is not visible. Is that a problem with everyone?
Now it is visible, sir.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, how do you solve this? So what is the probability density function of x and y? How do you compute it? Yeah. Anybody has an idea?
Equation of the quadrilateral.
Yeah. No. So we don't know what the value of the density function is in the quadrilateral. We know it's uniform, but we don't know the exact value, right? What is fx of x? What is this quantity? Yeah. So it's very clear that if x is greater than 1, then it is 0. Yeah. If x greater than 1 and x is greater than 1, anyway there is no area in the quadrilateral. So its probability is 0. Yeah, you don't want any probability. If x belongs to, let's say, 0 to 1, what is the density function value? So the total area has to be equal to 1, right? So if you look at the joint density function, just like we had joint distributions, we can have also joint density function of x and y. Yeah, and this thing is basically constant on this parallelogram. Yeah? If you integrate this over x and y, dx dy, this has to be equal to 1. Yeah, and this integral is basically the area of the parallelogram. So what is the area of the parallelogram? How do you compute the area of a parallelogram? Is there a formula for it? Yeah, so it looks like in this particular case, it's two right-angled triangles, no?
One, sir.
Yeah. So this is two right-angled triangles. So 2 into half base is 1 into height is also 1. So this this is the, so fxy is a constant in this region. So let's put that constant as c. This has to be equal to 1. That means c equal to 1. Essentially, yeah, the shaded area, the thing is equal to 1. Okay. Now, okay, so we know the joint density function we know. Now, what about fxy? So what should I put here? Yeah. So you need to integrate the joint density function, yeah, over y. How do you get the marginal? You will get the integrate over the other random variable of the joint. So what does this come to? So yeah, how much does it come to? Yeah, what is the marginal on x? So yeah, if you look at it, I mean, it is constant. I mean, essentially in 0 to 1, I mean, the marginal on x is very constant. Why is that? For any x, the amount of mass is the same. Yeah. So it is actually equal to, so it is in 0 to 1. So this is actually also 1. Okay. What about the marginal on y?
So please explain this once again. I didn't get.
Yeah. So this is clear that the joint density function is basically a constant in the region, this parallelogram.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. And how do you get the marginal on x? You integrate over y. Yeah. So
Okay.
from here I will integrate y from this to this region. And what is the length of this region? It is exactly 1. This is a parallelogram. This length is exactly 1. So this length is also exactly 1. Yeah.
Yes, sir.
So even x, it is uniform in 0 to 1.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So I mean, you take any value of x and see how much of the shaded region it is. I mean, the shaded region is yeah, a unit length interval. So for any, it is independent of x also. If you take any x in 0 to 1, the amount of mass in that line is the same. Yeah. So yeah, the interesting part is the y part. What is the marginal on y? The marginal on y is you integrate the joint distribution over x. Yeah. So what is that value? So clearly, if y is greater than 2 or y is less than 0, it is 0. Otherwise,
Sir, if y is greater than 0 and smaller than 1, then it is x.
sorry, I didn't follow you.
Sir, when y is greater than 0 and smaller than 1, then it is x, equal to x.
No. So I'm talking about the marginal. When you talk about the marginal, you are not. You cannot talk about x. You want to find the marginal in the y. I didn't follow what you said. I mean, how do you get a marginal distribution? You integrate out the other variable in the joint distribution. Do you agree? And in the output of this marginal, y x is integrated out. There cannot be any more x after that.
Yeah, yes.
Yeah. So yeah, how do you integrate this? Yeah. So let's write it down. So this is this quantity is basically integral over yeah, depends upon what the value of y is. Yeah. So if y is between 0 to 1, yeah, if y is in this region, yeah, then the maximum value x can take is from 0 to x. Yeah, so f y of y is integral 0 to x. This is a constant dx. You agree? So if I look at y in this range, yeah, what are the values of x you can take? X can be 0 all the way to when you touch this line. After that, the density function is 0. So what is this point? This is actually exactly the so sorry, I think I should write y. Yeah, this is exactly this point itself. This is the line 45-degree line. Yeah, so x is varying from 0 to y only, and this is basically yeah, so this will work out to be y. Is that clear?
So please explain this last part once again.
Yeah, so in the range, when y is in the range 0 to 1, yeah, how much can x vary? X can vary from 0 all the way to the tip of this parallelogram. You agree?
Yes.
Yeah. And what is this tip? What is the value at this tip? The value at this tip for x is equal to y. This is a 45-degree line.
Yes.
So instead of integrating from 0 to infinity, I just need to integrate all the way till y.
Got it, sir.
So, and I wrote it. Now, if y belongs to, let's say this is 1 to 2. Yeah. What is fy of y? This is integral. Yeah. So there is dx and there is then. So yeah, I mean ideally it is from yeah minus infinity to infinity. Yeah. But the thing is the value of x. I mean there is a non-zero probability only in the region this region to this region. Yeah. So what is this point? So let's say this is the value of y. What is this point here? And what is this point here? The second point we know. The second value of x is 1. So the upper limit is 1. That is very clear. What is this lower limit? Yeah. This lower limit, essentially this is a square, right? So this lower limit is essentially the distance of y from this 1. Yeah. So this lower limit is actually y minus 1. You agree?
Yes.
We just looked at the figure, understood it, and just wrote the form this thing. Okay. So yeah, it's we need to interpret what the figure means. Yeah, and then do things. Otherwise, it will become very difficult. So what does this work out to? Yeah, it is basically y minus 1. Sorry. Yeah, that's right. It is y minus 1. Yeah. So we have computed the marginal in x as well as y. Yeah. Does y integrate to 1? A good question. Yeah, so 0 to y. So if you integrate y in 0 to y, so it will be y squared by 2. Yeah, it will be 1 by 2 and 1 by 2. Yeah, it will work out to 1. You need to integrate this density function for all the values of y and check if it actually adds up to 1. You can verify that it actually adds up to 1. Okay. So this part will contribute half and this part will also contribute half.
So how is it y minus 1?
It is will be 2 minus y.
Will be 1
So
minus
do you
1.
agree with this? Do you agree with this?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, because x is only, I mean, the density function is non-zero only from y minus 1 all the way to 1 when x varies in the figure. Yeah, so this thing is called y minus 1 and this thing is 1. Yeah. So yeah, so x can vary only from y minus 1 to 1. And so this is x. So if you integrate this, let's integrate this. Integral of this is x. Yeah. And you need to go from y minus 1 to 1. So it is, oh yeah, sorry, I think I made a mistake. So it is 1 minus y minus 1. Yeah, so it is actually 2 minus y. Yeah, yeah. Thank you. Yeah, so yeah, I just made a mistake. Yeah, so you need to just look at the figure, understand it, write down the equation, make sure the signs are all correct, and then you will get the answer. Okay. Okay.
So I have a
Yes.
small doubt. Sorry for interruption.
Yeah.
So can you just show the figure once again?
Sure.
So here we can also say that the value of y is equivalent to um, 2 minus y. Then we will integrate from 2 minus y to 1.
So what are we computing again? Sorry.
Oh, sorry, sir. I got my point.
Yeah.
I'm taking the wrong idea. Okay.
Yeah. So we need to define. So
Yes,
it's
sir.
very easy to get lost in like circular loops. Okay. So
Yes.
first define. Okay, what is the question I am asking? Okay.
Yes, sir.
Think if that's a question is well defined or not. Yeah.
Yes.
So that's the first step. Sometimes we ask the wrong questions and then go in
Yeah.
loops.
Yes.
Okay. And yeah. So this is, yeah, I've been drilling this repeatedly. You need to understand the problem first. You need to ask the right questions. Then the answer will naturally come. Okay.
Yes.
There's something hard in this. Okay.
Sorry, sir.
Yeah, sure. So, okay. So this is looks like a long essay question, but this is a very practical problem, occurs all the time in practice. Yeah. Answer to it is actually very simple. Yeah. But it's good to understand the practical situation also. So that's why there's a long essay written. Please go over it for a minute. Yeah. So what is the situation? So yeah, I am sending some, I want to send some bit across to you. Okay. And yeah, I want to send a binary message, 0 or 1 message. Yeah, so we have this channel through the internet. I am sending this to you. Yeah. So the channel is such that the channel allows me to send some real number. Okay, I can take a numerical real number, I can send it to you. Yeah. And but the channel is not a perfect channel. If I send something, you won't get exactly the same thing. Yeah. The channel will add a normal random variable to it. So suppose I send x to you, I wanted to send x to you, the real number x, yeah, I wanted to send it to you. What you get will be x plus n, where n is a normal random variable. Yeah. And from what you get, you need to figure out what I had sent you. This is the problem, and this is a very common problem, and this is solved whenever, yeah, whenever this video is being sent over the internet to you, this problem is getting solved one way or the other. Okay. Yeah. So and this normal random variable, we are given the parameters of it. We are given the mean. The mean is 0. Yeah. And variance is 4. Is the situation clear? Yeah. And now the question is, yeah, so suppose the symbol 0, I want to communicate a binary message to you, but I will encode the binary message as a real number, because the channel allows to send real numbers only. Yeah. So I will, whenever I want to say 0, I will send the value -2 to the channel. Yeah. And whenever I want to say 1, I will send the real number 2 to the channel from my side. Yeah. Now what you get, y is what you get. Yeah. Y is going to be x plus n, where n is the normal random variable. Yeah. So x is a discrete random variable. X is taking -2 value with probability half and 2 with value with probability half. So it is very clear. Each symbol occurs with equal probability. Yeah. So x can take the value -2 or 2 with probability half and half each. What you get is y. Now x is kind of a discrete random variable, but what about y? Yeah. You are adding a continuous random variable to a discrete random variable. So y is actually a continuous random variable. Yeah. What is the probability density function of y? What is the distribution of y? Yeah. So let's say you are suppose you are given, suppose you are, so let's look at the density function of y conditioned on x equal to, let's say, 2. Could you tell me what this is? Any ideas?
Sir, it will be normal distribution with mean as 2.
Yeah. So if you add a constant value to a normal distribution, so let's say this is your normal distribution with mean 0 and variance 2. Yeah. Now if you are given x equal to 2, you are just adding the value 2 to the normal distribution. So what will happen? The normal distribution will just shift. Yeah. You agree? Initially this normal random variable was looking like this. Yeah. But you added a 2 to that normal random variable. So now this random variable will look like this. Yeah. So actually we know the density function of y completely. Y given x equal to 2. What is that? Yeah. So it is the distribution of a normal random variable. So this is the density of a normal random variable with mean 2 and variance. Is the variance affected when you add a value to a random variable? Variance is not affected. Yeah. So the variance is going to be 4. Yeah. And you know the formula for a normal random variable with mean 2 and variance 4. What is the probability density function? It is 1 by root 2 pi into 2 e raised to minus that formula. Okay. So just remember that formula. Yeah, that formula will come here. Yeah. In pictorially it will look something like this. Yeah. Similarly, we also can find out f of y given x equal to -2 also. Yeah, the mean will be shifted to -2 instead of 2. Yeah, so you understand these two parts. How do you find the density function of y given x equal to something? Yeah. So now what is the question asking? Now, yeah, so I'm sending you this message, yeah, y, and you will decode things as follows. If y is positive, yeah, then you will conclude that I had sent you the message 1. And if y is negative, you will conclude that I had sent you the message 0. You don't know what I sent, but this is what you are going to do at your side. Yeah. What is the probability of error of the decoding scheme? Yeah, so what is the probability of error? So how do you write the probability of error? What do you mean by error?
When we send 2 and it is decoded as
Yeah.
0,
So
and in the other way
I
around.
send, let's say I send it 2 and what you get is
0. X
what
is
I got. Yeah, so what does that mean in terms of y?
it is decoded as less than 0.
Yeah, you got a y which is less than 0. Yeah, so this is one case.
Yeah.
Then there is the other case also. I send you -2, yeah, but you got a number, you decoded it to be 1. That means you got a number y which is greater than 0. You agree?
Yes.
Yeah. Now, how do you compute this particular probability? Yeah. Now, yeah, you can use Bayes rule. Okay, this is basically equal to probability of x equal to 2 into probability of y less than 0 conditioned on x equal to 2. X equal to 2, we know this is actually 1 by 2. And how do you get this? Yeah. So wonderfully, we know the conditional density functions. Yeah, which is exactly what you want to get this. So this is basically the integral minus infinity to 0 because we are interested in, yeah. So basically, yeah, basically it is this figure where this region is being computed. Minus infinity to 0. So this f y given x equal to 2 of y dy. Yeah. And we know the density function. It's a Gaussian distribution with mean 2 and variance 4. Yeah, so you just need to integrate that integral and find the answer. Yeah, the final answer is not that important, but you know how, you need to know how to get it. Is that clear?
So can we use phi function for calculating the actual value?
Yeah. So there is you can I mean that for the normal distribution, yeah, the values is pre-computed. Yeah, if you give a mean and variance, the value is pre-computed, and there is standard tables you can refer to get this value. Okay, but that final calculation is less important. What you know is how to come till here. The rest is you can just put it even in a computer and it will give you some answer. Yeah. Is this clear? Yeah, so this will work out to be 1 by root 2 integral minus infinity to 0 1 by root 2 pi into 2 e raised to minus x minus 2 the whole squared by 2 into 2. Yeah, so this is y and dy. Yeah, so we need to compute this integral. That's it. Yeah, similarly for this also. Is that fine? Okay. So now let's look at the second part of the question. Suppose, yeah, I mean, suppose the noise is too much, okay, and this probability is actually working out to be a large number. Let's say this is working out to be maybe 1 by 4, and you don't want this much error, okay. So what do? You have like too much error in the channel. So what should we do? Yeah. So the normal thing to do is instead of I sending 2 1 times, I will send it 2 3 times. Yeah. I will send 2 once and you will get this y. You will decode something. I will send again the same message a second time. You will again decode something. I will send again the third time. You will again decode something. And what you will do is what we did yesterday, last time with the lying Alexa, which is you take the majority decoded value. Yeah. And yeah, I mean, yeah. So the question is asking what is the probability of error under this new decoding scheme? Yeah, is the problem clear? Yeah. So you just repeat the experiment 3 times. Yeah, and do the majority decoding. That is, yeah, you decoded 3 times, and then you again take the majority of what you got. If you got one more than once, then you will say, I mean, yeah, I send 1. If you saw 0 more than once, then you will say, okay, I send 0. Yeah, and if the question asks what is the probability of error of this particular decoding scheme. Yeah, so this actually we already worked out in the lying Alexa problem. Okay, so I won't work it out. You can just refer to the lying Alexa problem, and yeah, that is actually a binomial distribution. Okay, is the question clear? Okay, yeah, so that is that. So now let's come back to what we were doing yesterday. Okay, so this is a very important problem. That's why I want to discuss this properly. So yeah, so hope you remember this problem. Okay, so you have a graph. Yeah, graph has vertices and edges. Yeah, and S is a subset of vertices. Yeah, so the particular graph we defined was, and suppose S is this. So let's call this numbers 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, suppose you take this S as equal to 2, 3. Yeah, then the cut defined by, so the cut defined by S comma S complement is going to be the edges 1, 2, 5, 2, 4, and 3, 3, 1, and 3, 5. Yeah, and this was defined as the cut. Yeah, and yeah, so we were analyzing a randomized algorithm for finding a cut. Yeah, what was the randomized algorithm doing? For every vertex, it will choose a random cut. That is, for every vertex, we add it to S with probability half. Yeah, for every vertex, it will be added to the set S with probability half. Yeah, and look at the cut defined by this. Yeah, so yeah, so let's say y is the size of the cut. Yeah, S is chosen randomly. Okay, so how do you find expected value of y? That is the question. Is the question clear? Yeah, so you have a randomized algorithm for finding a cut. Yeah, and yeah, the randomized algorithm is doing for every vertex you will toss a coin and decide whether to add it to the set S. Yeah, and y is basically the size of this random cut. It's a random variable. Yeah? And how do you find the expected value of y? Any ideas? So last time we defined random variables x sub e. So x sub e, so e is a edge. So x sub e is random variable which is 1 if e belongs to the cut. It's a binary random variable which specifies whether a edge belongs to the cut or not. So y by definition is summation over edges belonging to the edge set x sub e. You agree? Y is the size of the cut. It is some yeah. It is basically the count of the number of edges in the cut. Xe is whether that particular edge E is in the cut or not. Is this particular edge in the cut or not? Is this particular edge in the cut or not? For every line we have an indicator random variable E, x sub E, and you are summing all of them. Is this clear?
Yes, sir.
So what is the expected value of Y now? Yeah. So expected value of Y is so linearity of expectation helps us. We don't even care whether what xc's are independent or dependent or anything like that. Yeah, and what is the expected value of x sub b? So yeah, what is the basically, so suppose you have an edge like this, yeah. When is the edge belonging to the cut? So let's say you have vertices a comma b. If both of them is selected in the set S, does this edge belong to the cut?
No,
Both
sir.
no. So only if so there are four possibilities. Yeah, for A and B belonging to the set or not. Yeah, there are four possibilities, and each of the four possibilities are equally likely. We have independently tossed the coin for A and B. Yeah. So for two of the four possibilities, it will belong to the cut. If it is 0, 1 or 1, 0, it will belong to the cut. X sub B is basically a Bernoulli coin toss. Even X sub AB is a coin toss. Yeah. So this is actually equal to size of the number of edges by 2. The expected value of x sub b is 1 by 2. Yeah. So this very stupid algorithm. What is the algorithm doing? For every vertex, you are tossing a coin, adding it to the set S. Yeah. This it's a very stupid algorithm. It's not even looking at the graph. It is just doing a coin toss and choosing a random cut. But this particular algorithm, actually in expectation, gives you a cut of half the size. It will cut half the edges in your graph. Size of E is the total number of edges in the graph. This randomized algorithm is cutting half the edges in your graph. Yeah, in expectation. Okay. Is that clear? Okay.
Excuse me, sir.
Yeah.
So can you explain that last part again, E of y after that?
So is this clear?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So from here to here you have a doubt.
Yes, sir.
So what is the random variable x sub E? So
whether a edge is in cut or not.
Yeah. So let's look at a particular edge from A to B. Yeah. So we tossed a coin for A and decided whether to add it to set S or not. We tossed a coin for B and decided whether to add it to a set or not. So there are four possibilities between A and B, right? You agree?
Yes.
Yeah. All the four possibilities are equally likely.
Yeah.
Yeah. In how many of the possibilities does this edge belong to the cut?
2.
2. So 2 by 4 is 1 by 2.
And sir, why not that 1-1 case will be considered?
So if it is 1-1, that means it is in the same side of the cut. No, it doesn't go across the cut.
Okay, sir. Okay, I got it.
For S is 2 by 2 comma 3. So if I had a edge like this, it won't be part of this cut because it's not going across from S to S complement.
Yeah, okay, sir.
So that's all. Yeah. So Yeah, so let me ask you another question. So if I take let's say x 1 comma 2, okay, and x let's say 2 comma 3, are these random variables independent? Are they independent? So you have 1 here and 2 here, okay. Suppose yeah, this particular edge was cut, okay. So this was this was taken to be in S, and this was not taken to be in S. Yeah. Now if you take 2 comma 3, yeah. So let's say yeah, I mean you had something like this. Yeah. Now whether so yeah. So we have fixed the value of x12. So x12 is actually equal to 1. Yeah. What is the value of x23? Is x23 completely determined by x12?
No, sir.
No, because 3 is still hanging around. X12 maybe affects the, I mean, yeah, which side of the cut 2 is in. But 3 you can still put either side of the cut. So the probability of x23 equal to 0 given x12 equal to 0 is again half. Yeah, it is. It hasn't changed the x23. But let's take 3 things. 1, 2, 3. Yeah. Suppose I set 1 to be in one side of the cut. Yeah. I set this. Yeah. So x12 is equal to 1. Yeah. And suppose I said x23 is also equal to 1. Yeah. So let's say that this is yeah. Now what is the value of x13? Is it random?
0.
So x13 has to be 0. There's no other way. Yeah. So I mean, if you take more than 2 random variables, they are going to be dependent. But if you take any pair of random variables, they are independent. Yeah. And pairwise independent is enough so that variance become linear. This is what we discussed in the last lecture. Yeah. So we can actually compute the variance of the random variable y. Variance of the random variable y is summation over E belongs to E, the variance of xc. You agree?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. And this is equal to size of E times. So the variance of the individual random variable is going to be yeah, I mean what was it? PQ, right? It's 1 by 4. Yeah. So we compute the mean expectation and variance. So now we know how to apply Markov and Chernoff. Yeah. Yeah. So the rest of the question is okay. Okay. In expectation, you are getting size of E by 2. Okay. But what is the probability that you get a mean cut of size at least let's say 1 by 3? Okay. So here. Yeah. Show that yeah, you get a cut of size at least 1 by 3 size with probability at least 1 by 4. Yeah. How do you do that? Yeah. So yeah. So the expected value. Yes.
Chebyshev.
Chebyshev, but on which random variable? So
We have the mean.
Yeah, please. Yeah, sorry.
Our mean is E by 2, so it differs. Like, we can take the difference between mean and E by 3.
So what does okay, so you are saying Chebyshev's inequality. Okay, okay, I see. Yeah. So yeah, you are saying, so let's look at the probability of y greater than or equal to, so we want to compute the probability of y greater than or equal to e by 3. Yeah, so this is equal to 1 minus the probability that y is less than e by 3. Yeah, so this is so, and what is this probability? This probability is basically upper bounded by the probability that y minus e by 2, the deviation from the mean, yeah, is greater than e by 6. Yeah. And this is upper bounded by the variance, which is e by 4 divided by, yeah, I don't think this will give you a nice number. Yeah, so simply Chebyshev did not work. So it will be the variance is e by 4. So yeah, I mean variance divided by a squared, and the a squared, okay, yeah. Yeah, so divided by 36. Yeah, so this is going to be upper bounded by 1 by size of e into 36 by 4. And 36 by 4 is basically 9. Is that fine?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. And so if you have a large graph with lot of edges, this is very good, right? Because e will be very large. Okay, I mean, if your graph is of size 9 or something, then you can try all possibilities and get the number anyway. Yeah, but this will work for very large graph. If you have a large graph with hundreds and thousands of edges, this denominator is going to be 100 and 1000. Yeah, and your probability of yeah, I mean, this probability will become very small, so this probability will become very high. Yeah, and you will have a cutoff size at least size of e by 3. Is that clear?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So yeah, so we have come with a randomized algorithm for finding a cut, which is doing a very stupid thing. Toss a coin for every vertex and output the cut defined by that random value. Apparently, in expectation, you will get a cutoff size e by 2. Yeah, and the probability that you get a cutoff size at least e by 3. So there are total number of edges that at least 1/3 fraction of the edges is cut is actually very high. If you have a large graph, that number becomes this probability becomes very close to 1. In fact, yeah. So as size of e tends to infinity, that size of e becomes very large. This number tends to 0. Yeah, the probability that you will deviate from your mean will tend to 0, and almost always you will get a very good cut. Yeah, in fact, you will get a cut of size e by 2 itself. Yeah, I mean, because there was nothing specific about e by 3. I could put any number here which is close to e by 2. Yeah, hopefully that was clear. Yeah, so think about it. Yeah, I mean, it's a very important application of probability. Yeah, randomized algorithms. Communication theory was other example. So it's another very important application of probability. But it doesn't stop there. I mean, it is used everywhere. Like, I mean, currently a big hot topic is yeah, we want to see how disease spreads. Okay, how fast it will spread. Yeah, I mean, what is the probability that okay, this many people is infected in this much time, yeah, so that we can plan ahead. Yeah, and this is called epidemiology. And epidemiology is based on probability models only. What is the probability of? So you start with the probability of some spreading happening, and then you will calculate the probability. Okay, but in the end there will be this many people. Okay, and it happens in yeah, epidemiology. Then it happens in yeah, biology. In various places it is working. So probability is a subject which is used everywhere in various different ways. Okay, we just saw a few examples. So let's try one more problem. Okay, this is yeah, it's not a practical problem as such, but it's a very good exercise. Okay, for your thinking. So your box has n balls. Okay, you have boxes n balls, and the balls are numbered 1 to n, so they are distinguishable balls. Yeah. Now you are picking a ball randomly, yeah, and you look at the number and then you put it back. Picking the ball randomly, looking at it, and then you'll put it back. X is the random variable denoting the first time at which you have seen a ball twice. You are keep on doing this. At some point you will see, yeah, I mean, you are noting down the numbers that you are this thing, and at some point you will see a duplicate. Yeah. So yeah, what is the probability mass function of this random variable? Yeah, what is the probability that x equal to 1, for example?
No, 0, sir.
0 or 1 by 2? Come on, in one pic you cannot see a duplicate. I mean, in one pic you can only see one thing. It cannot, yeah. It's 0 only. So what about px equal to 2?
One by n.
Why is it 1 by n?
Sir, at first time we can have any ball, and the second time the same ball repeats.
Yeah. So
It's 1 by n minus 1.
so if you are confused, it is y equal to 1 to n. Probability is first ball is I, yeah, and probability that second ball is I given first ball is I. Yeah, but this is independent, no? You don't need to condition here. Yeah. So it is summation over I equal to 1 to n, 1 by n into 1 by n, which is equal to, yeah. Yeah, so yeah, I mean, if you are if you have solved enough problems, this thinking will come quickly. But this is from the first principles how you got it. Okay. Fine. So this is not a question. What is the PM of x? What is the probability that x equal to I? That you will only see the repetition at the ith instant. Yeah.
Sir, it is on ith instance we should see that ball, and before in I minus 1 we should
See which ball?
see any ball, sir. So for example, it should be in I minus 1 chances. 1 second.
Sir, it can be any of the I minus 1 balls that we have previously picked up.
Okay.
And those will always be distinct.
Okay, so the answer is according to you, what is the answer? Is it I by n?
I minus 1 by n.
I minus 1 by n. Everybody agrees? Okay, so with that you have ensured that the ith ball is a repetition. I agree with that. But you should also ensure that there is no repetition in the first I minus 1, no? Have you ensured that?
That can be like the first ball we have 1 by n probability, second will be like 1 by n minus 1, third will be for 1 by n minus 2, and for the I minus 1th ball we have 1 upon n minus I plus 1.
If the first repetition has to happen at the ith time, there should not be any repetition in the first I minus 1 times, and the ith time it should be repetition of the one of the I minus 1, right?
Yes, sir.
So I agree that yeah, the ith thing to be a repetition of the first I minus 1, it is I minus 1 by n. I agree with that. But you should also first enforce the condition that there is no repetition in the first I minus 1. How do you enforce that there is no repetition in the first I minus 1?
We could use n choose I minus 1.
Okay. Yeah, so what are we computing? We are computing the probability that there is no repetition from 1 to I minus 1. Yeah. So what is the probability that there is no repetition from 1 to I minus 1?
NC I minus 1 upon n minus I plus 1 factorial. Maybe.
NC I minus 1. Okay.
Upon n minus I plus 1 factorial.
I don't know how you got it.
Let me just maybe I.
No. So don't like you should give the reasoning. Just some random numbers is not good. You should also come up with the reasoning for it. Otherwise, it is
we can just choose the I minus 1 balls out of n balls, and the first ball it had n possibilities. The second ball we have total number of ways we can arrange it. Like in first place we can put n balls. In the second place we have n minus 1 options. Third place we have n minus 2 options.
So let me give you a simple argument. Yeah. So there are I minus 1 positions. Yeah. What are the total number of possibilities in I minus 1 position? N raised to I minus 1. That is the total number of possibilities in I minus 1 positions.
Yes.
Yeah. How many possibilities they are distinct? N into n minus 1 into up to n minus I plus 2 or something, or n minus I think. Or yes. I plus 2.
Plus 1 maybe.
Yeah. So you just need to be sure. Yeah. I think it is I minus 1 only. So I think the number of terms in the numerator and the denominator should be the same. Yeah, I'm not completely sure. I think this is the correct answer. Yeah, there are I minus 1 terms in the numerator, there are I minus 1 terms in the denominator into, so I minus 1 divided by n. Is this clear? So in the first I minus 1 position, total number of possibilities is n raised to I minus 1. How many of those possibilities, everything is distinct? This many possibilities. And then in the ith position, there's a repetition happening from the first I minus 1 by n. I didn't do anything complicated. Yeah. So this is the answer. Yeah. So yeah, please work out the other things also. Once you understand this, yeah, this is a very interesting problem. Okay, I will put up the things. So that's all for today. So we have completed random variables, continuous random variables, yeah, tail bounds and everything. Few things which are left is central limit theorem I have to cover, maybe little bit of statistics because it is part of the syllabus. So we have lesser number of time than the actual class that was supposed to happen because the semester started 1 week late. So yeah, I will try to cover some new topics also next week. Okay. So yeah, we have covered most of the basic probability topics already, and also solved enough problems in the class. There will be tutorials, yeah, and okay. So that's all for today. Okay, it's already over time. Okay, bye for now. Thank you.